Everyone, and welcome back to another lesson. So in this lesson, we are going to be talking about what uh, a JavaScript generator is. I was explaining in the last lesson about JavaScript generator that I forgot to talk about what the generator itself is. Of course, I explained it in respect to functions, but then what exactly is JavaScript generator? So JavaScript generator are just powerful functions that allow us to pause and resume function execution. So that's just what a JavaScript generator is. So it's a powerful function. So that means when you hear JavaScript generator, they are talking about function, but not like the traditional functions that you are used to in JavaScript. And it allows us to pause and resume function execution. So it offers alternative to traditional iteration and asynchronous patterns. So that is what makes it particularly powerful and useful, because it can handle sequences, then stream of data, like I said, like reading of file data that I gave as an example, I cited as an example in the last video, and then complex control flows in JavaScript application. So that is what a JavaScript generators are. When you hear JavaScript generator, just know that they are talking about functions that can be paused and resumed. That is just what the JavaScript generators are. It's a powerful function that allows us to pause and resume function execution. So let's move on and take a look at an example of what it is like. So now move on from here, and we are no longer on iterators, but instead we have JavaScript generators. JavaScript generators are powerful functions that allows us to pause and resume function execution. So that's what a generator is in JavaScript. So back to the example. So let's take a look at an example of this. Don't forget that they told us that a generator can return more than one value, unlike traditional value. So it's always return a generator object. And what is a generator object? Generator object is an output of a generator function, which usually have two properties, value and done. Don't forget, and those two properties are what make it valid for for iteration, because it follows the iterable and iteration protocol. So don't forget. So since a JavaScript generator is a function, what do I need to do? It means that I need to make a function, and don't forget about the syntax that I showed us in the last lesson. So if I want to make a generator function, I'm just going to make it like a traditional function, but the asterisk is what is going to make it a generator function. So which means if I have a function and now I can add asterisk, now I've turned it into a generator function. And then let me call the name by string. So just like a normal function, this if I have parameters, and if I don't, then I'll move on. And now with this, I can say, okay, return value one, and also let me know if I am done. Now in this example, I want to return two values. So which means that when I return the first one, I am not done yet, then my done will be false. And when I'm done, then I'll set it to true. So how do you return value in a generator function? You use a keyword called yield. So this is what you use when you want to return a function. So I want to return another function. Now I want to return another value. Then this next value will be true. And then my done will also be false because I want it returned. And I can use the keyword again, yield true. Now that I have this, I want to end the return. Now I put return what? What do I want to return? value to be 3. But then after this value, I want my done to be true, which means that at this point, I don't want this value, the returning of value to continue to go on and on. I want it to stop. Then when I want to end the return of value, how do you do it? You do it like the way you do it in traditional function, whereby you pass a return statement that this is what your function should return. So I'll just pass in return keyword and the value. And now that I have my generator function, then I need to create a generator before I can use the for of loop to loop over it to return the element inside of it. Then I need to create a generator which will give me that object that I need from the function that I have of. So now let me call it my generator equals to my function, my string, this way. And let me just make an empty string which will contain the result of my loop. So then I can loop over the generator. Loop over the generator. And how do I do that? The usual way. So this time I'm not using const, I want to use this. Let value of my generator, and then can say text, the usual way to return it, value, and I want to add break to the expected results. So moving on from here, document.get element by ID. Now, before I get the output, what do you think is going to be the return function? Oh, sorry, the return output. Except, let me just give you 2 seconds to guess. Okay, maybe you are thinking it's going to be 3. Actually, it's not going to be 3. It's going to return 2. And let's take a look for confirmation. So let's see what will be returned. See, this act only return 2 and not 3. So why was 2 returned and not 3? Now, number one, I've talked about the yield keyword, that it pauses execution and yield a value back to the caller. So the yield keyword is what allows generators to be able to pause execution and resume back when you are ready. So now the generator state is preserved and can be resumed from the point of the yield when next is called. So now here, when I have a state here, it preserves this. When the next is called, it will move to this. And when it gets to here, now done is set to true. Then it will omit this. It will not return it, because the for of loop will exit when done is true. So which means that this for of loop will only pick this value and this value. It will exit because here already the done has been set to true. So if you want all the 3 values, that means there will not be the use of return. Then this will be changed to yield like the rest. Then it will return all the value. But if this is returned, then the for of loop will end the execution before it gets here, because the done has been set to true. So this is why you are saying 2 or 1 and 2 are not 1, 2, 3 as specified in the code. So this is an example of a yield, a JavaScript generator.